Press conference begins now. Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. Mike Pursuto, you had a question? We'll start now. Why didn't we win the game? Huh, Mikey? You coming right at me. You starting early, huh? Right from the outset. There's a lot of things that go into answering that question. We didn't do enough. We didn't do enough to win the game. And winning a game is stacking more points than the other team, obviously. And that's something that we tried to do, but we weren't able to do it. We weren't able to do it. There's a lot of factors behind that, but next week we have 10 days in between games, and that's something that we'll have to accomplish as a team. And it starts with me, the head coach. And I'm viable. I'm viable to get the job done, and I'm reliable. I'm viable and reliable, but I didn't get the job done. I didn't get the job done, and it starts with me. And it starts with me. I didn't get the job done, but we're working on that. We're 1-2 right now, which is one more loss than a win. We won the first game, and that was great, but we're not going to hang our hats on what we did in the past, because we're in the present and we're working towards the future. And to get to the future, you have to go through the past and be part of the present. And to be part of the present, you have to give a better presentation. We didn't give a good presentation out there. We didn't give a good presentation. We let down our nation, and it looked like my defensive backs had a case of constipation. We didn't get it right. Next question. I hope I answered your question. Okay, buddy. Dave, what about the DBs in particular? Listen, I told my DBs in practice, we got to cross our T's and dot our I's. It's a game that's above the neck. It's cerebral of sorts. From the standpoint of a coach talking to defensive backs, I'm a person who was a defensive back coach, and I did very well at it. But now I'm the head coach. There's other people, you know what I mean, that take over that task now, and they have to do their job. They have to be made accountable. All the coaching staff has to be made accountable, like I make myself accountable. And to be accountable, you have to have an account. Checking, savings. You got to be accountable and have an account to be accountable. And if we're not accountable for the things that we teach our players, what are we really teaching? At the end of the day, what are we really teaching as coaches? We didn't get the job done. So why should I expect them to get the job done? Witherspoon had a bad day, but Levi Wallace was no better. I'm impressed with Cam Sutton, but he can't catch an interception to save his life. And to be a defensive back, you got to be a lifesaver, which we're putting a lot of pressure on Minkah Fitzpatrick because we paid him 3 times too much. But that's not any fault of mine. That's Omar Khan. All the fault goes on him because he's supposed to be the salary cap cruncher of sorts, crossing his T's and dotting his I's. But there's a lot that goes behind that. I'm not putting it on him. He's a GM now. He's trying to do 2 jobs at once. He's not really good at either one of them now, but there's room for improvement at the GM. But I'm not going to talk about that because I need my job. And I feels like I'm not doing I'm not doing a good enough job right now. I seem like I'm stumbling over my words, but hey, you want to talk about stumbling, fumbling? Let's talk about Jaylen Warren. He's giving it all he's got. I'm really impressed with Jaylen Warren and where he's come as a running back, but he's got fumbleitis. It's some type of condition. Might have to send him to a medic, a doctor of sorts. I don't know what's going on with Jaylen Warren. As far as Najee Harris, you know, he's coming off a Liz Frank injury, but we don't live in excuses. We don't live in our sorrows, and we don't live in our fears, and we move forward. And as we move forward, we got to look behind, but you can't look too far behind because you'll be caught in the past. And the past is not part of the future, and the future is now. And we've got to get something done now. Next question. I didn't hear you. Yeah, that was good. That was good. You said, why didn't Mitch Trubisky? You're talking about Mitch? No, Mitch was my choice. He was my personal choice. I brought Mitch here to be a starter, and I'm not going away from Mitch. I'm going to stick with Mitch to the end. He's my friend to the end. And as long as Mitch is the coach, as long as I'm the coach, Mitch is going to be the starter. You can Kenny Pickett to death. We like Kenny Pickett. He was here for 5 years. He played like a half decade at the same college. He didn't get good to his 5th year, but when he got good, he was great. So there's growing pains. There was growing pains for him at Pitt. He played on the same field, used the same bathroom on the 3rd floor when he was here. And he still uses the same bathroom on the 3rd floor because he can't use my bathroom because I'm the head coach. And there's just certain boundaries. Kenny's not ready. He's not ready right now. If I thought he was ready, I put him on the field, but I'm not putting him on the field right now because he's not ready. When he's ready, it'll be time for me to put him on the field. And when he does get on the field, he will unleash hell, and I will unleash hell. And if he doesn't unleash hell, I'm gonna put him back in hell, and that's the 3rd string, bottom of the depth chart. Mason Rudolph, we don't think about him. No disrespect to Mason Rudolph because he's come a long way. He's a good sport. He does the job. If we start out and lose a bunch of games and everyone gets hurt, he'll be the quarterback. And if he does become the starting quarterback, he can lead us all the way to the Super Bowl. I believe that firmly. But I won't start him right now because Mitch Trubisky is our guy until he loses 5 or 6 in a row, and he's no longer our guy. And at that point, we'll have to go to Kenny Pickett. And if Kenny Pickett can't get the job done, we'll go to Mason Rudolph and win the Super Bowl. And if that doesn't happen, I don't know where I'll be next year this time. Just to be honest. Linebacker play. Linebacker play, that's something that we really stress. Because the foundation, the coach before me, Coach Bill Cowher, will tell you the foundation, Chuck Noll, the foundation of this organization is tough, gritty linebacker play. Batting up your chin straps and your mud flaps. Because this team is based on hard grit and hardcore linebacker play. Just look at the Hall of Fame. Look at all the linebackers from the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were either in the Hall of Fame or snubbed 3 or 4 times. One way or another, they got the look. People recognize what the Steelers linebackers do. And I'm really proud of Bush Jr. and Miles Jack. Together, they did a good job. They collaborate. And to collaborate, you can't hate. You got to get along together. You have to get along with each other to collaborate and do great. They both had 23 combined tackles. Now, Spillane can't cover, and he's not fast as far as run coverage, but he's there. He wears the number 41, and if you switch 41, if you switch it around, it's a 14. And he wears a size 14 shoe, and that means a lot. You can ask his wife. As far as the other linebackers, inside linebackers, they're not active. We're not going to let them play because they're not ready to play, and they don't deserve to play. They're right where they need to be, inactive on the practice team, where they get to practice. They wouldn't have to practice so much if they could play good. And that's covering the defense. Defensive line, I don't want to talk about them. I don't like any of them right now. We're going to move forward. Next question. Running backs. I think I covered that. Najee's not doing well. It's partially my fault. He's a TikToker like Juju was. He TikToks and dances. He dances in practice, and he practices his dance on the field because he's dancing around. He's not hitting the hole. Jaylen Warren hits the hole. He doesn't hold the ball after he hits the hole, but he hits the hole. And that's a good trait. That's why he's a second string. Benny Snell is here because we like his dreads. We like Benny Snell's dreads, and you have to have at least one light-skinned back in a running back unit. That's just the rules, I believe. Is it not the rules? It is. Everyone has a light-skinned back. Well, that's why he's here. And he makes good tackles on special teams. And I just like his name, Benny Snell Jr. Benny Snell. Say it 10 times. Benny's. Besides that, we're going to go to the wide receivers. George Pickens has not done much. He makes one-hand catches, and then he disappears. He's like Houdini. We call him Houdini in the locker room for one or more reasons. He's not around when we need him. But when we think he's not going to catch it, he'll catch it with one hand. And then when he needs to use two, he's still thinking about that one hand. He's like Michael Jackson with the white glove. I don't know what that means, but it sounds intelligent. And you have to be intellectual to be a coach, or you won't make it in the NFL. And I'm intellectual. I sound like I know a whole lot. Tight ends, I don't use them. We like Freiermuth. We like Muth. When he makes a big catch at home, they say his name, Muth. You hear him. You hear him. And you got to respect it. Muth is out there, and he wears 88, and Lynn Swann wore that number. Courtney Hawkins wore that number. A lot of different players wore that number, and he wears it well. I like the way his 88 fits on his uniform. It looks nice. He could block more. He can hold on to the ball better, but for right now, we appreciate his 11 receptions over 3 games because George Pickens only gave us 5, and Claypool gave us 8 or less, and that's not good. There was a time where our receivers gave us 6, 7 receptions a game, and we still didn't win the Super Bowl. So what are we going to do now? The receivers are not doing the job. I'm not happy with that unit. I'm happy with Deontay Johnson until he drops balls. Then he's not my friend anymore. He's in a doghouse, even though a doghouse doesn't exist in Pittsburgh. I don't believe in a doghouse. But if there was one, Deontay Johnson would be in it. But I need him because he's the only one getting first downs, him and Najee, and Freiermuth sometimes. The offensive line, they don't suck. They're doing much better. Kendrick Green is not on the offensive line. I will not let him on the field whatsoever. But I like him around because he has curly hair. And there's wisdom in having curly hair. He has curly hair, and he looks like he can play football. Doesn't matter if he can. He looks like he can play football. So when we go out to the visitors' parking lot on the road, if there's a possible situation where the other team may want to get in the fisticuffs, they look at Kendrick Green and they be like, hey, he's got curly hair, and he looks like he can fight. He looks like he can fight. At least when he takes off his shirt. Kevin Dotson is a big man. He's very strong. Not very bright, but he's willing to fight. When you're not bright, you got to be willing to fight. And that's what we need. We need fight out of our players, and that's what we're getting out of our offensive line. Thank God for Mason Cole and James Daniels. They're getting the job done. Chooks is a brute, great blocker. Gives us at least 5 penalties a game and causes us to lose games. But I keep him around because there's no one else out in the street. And he's Nigerian, so he's supposed to be intelligent. The kicking game, Boswell has missed 2 this year. But he's not going to miss anymore. He's focused. He's focused. I'm going to make him focused if he's not focused. Okay? He's got a lot of money now, and he should be making these field goals. Whether it be 44 yards or 50 yards, he's got to stop. Boom! He's got to stop hitting the crossbar. He's got to stop hitting the goalpost and go in. The goal is here. The goal is for the football to go in the goalpost and not outside of it. And we're getting outside of our train of thought, and that's one of the reasons why we're not winning these games. We got to stay with the program. The standard is the standard, and you got to keep the standard standardized. Because it's the organization. And we have to be organized and standardized for the standard to be the standard through all the Rooneys. This is not the best Rooney that we've had, but I'm dealing with him. And he's dealing with me. And we got a good relationship, and he won't fire me, and I can't fire him. God bless Art Rooney II. He's not his father, and he's damn sure not his grandfather, but he's a Rooney, and he hires people. And he keeps them, and he doesn't fire anyone. I do the firing and the hiring. And he pays the paychecks. Do we miss Kevin Colbert? No. We miss Ben Roethlisberger. That's what we miss. We miss Big Ben. I follow his social media. I watch his podcast. I wish he was here. The quarterbacks aren't as good as him, but they look better than Ben. Ben is not a handsome man by any stretch of the imagination. Nor should that matter. Nor does that matter because he's not here anymore. And that's why we're 1-2. Would I call Ben up for advice on how to get Mitch Trubisky to throw at the other receivers besides Deontay Johnson every other down? Besides that, we don't need Ben Roethlisberger to get the job done. The standard is the standard, and we do what we do, and we get it done when it needs to be done, but we haven't got it done in September because that's not our month. But believe me, when it gets cold out, I'm a streaky coach. We're going to win 4, 6, maybe 8 games straight, and then everyone's going to be talking about we're Super Bowl contenders and where we are within the plethora of the NFL. So if there's no more questions, I got to get back to work. We got to get things done and figure this out. Standard is the standard. We're the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we're going to come back and make all you proud if Najee hits the hole. Thank you.